Hello everyone, welcome to Ham Radio DX. I'm Hayden VK7HH, and today we've got another Ask an Elmer session. This time we're going to be talking about SOTA, which is going to be a topic that... Oh, I better mute myself. That's always the first thing to do. Talking about SOTA, so that's going to be a topic that I'm interested in because I want to do my first SOTA activation, and I know that there's others who are going to be joining us on the live stream today who will be doing that too. Pop your questions in the chat. It would be handy if you put the word question and then a colon, because then it makes it a lot easier for me to find the questions that we can answer with our panel tonight. Just before we begin, I do want to thank two of my channel members who are Ultimate DX channel members. That is Rod Christian Holm, who has just upgraded from QRP level to the Ultimate DXA, and VK Radio, of course, who is a long-standing channel member. So thank you to those two for joining. So yeah, thank you for everyone joining in the live chat. We've got Apes in the house, and we've got 2.0. G'day Jason as well. No Code Tech as well. And we've got a few others who are sitting in our green room waiting to start. So we'll go ahead and say hello to those. Let's say hello to Ham Radio Dude, who is Sean. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show today. How are you?
Good. Now you're a SOTA newbie, a bit like me. We're ready to hit the summits, yeah.
Well, in fact, I don't even know that I'll be able to do a SOTA, but I want to know all the information that I might be able to learn. So in the event that I do have that opportunity, I'll be able to do it, or at least be prepared for it.
Yeah, that's some handy information even for, I suppose, just going portable as well if we want to do that. Parks on the Air, I guess, is another close one. So they're all sort of related, and we've got temporarily offline channel. Steve, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Hayden, how are you doing, my friend?
I am good. Now, us three, we're in the same boat. We all haven't done a SOTA Peak summit, so we've got lots to learn as well today, don't we?
Yeah, I've got a couple of POTA sites that are, like 10 minutes from my house. I'm really spoiled by that. And then the nearest SOTA is like an hour and change away, so don't want to do that so much.
I've got so many summits nearby too. There's, I don't know, at least a dozen that are just within an hour's drive, I reckon. So I think I need to pull my finger out and start doing that. Now, let's welcome our experts, I want to call it. We were talking about experts in the Discord, so I'm using that term very loosely. But we've got Adam, K6ARK Portable Radio.
We'll use that term very loosely.
Very, very loosely. We've got Chuck, KK6USY.
Hi, everybody. Chuck? Yeah, there's guys here who know a lot more than I do about this.
Oh, that's all right. But you've done a SOTA summit, though, haven't you?
I've done 4 or 5. Yeah. 4 or 5, maybe.
Yeah, so you're already a step ahead of us.
Others.
You're already steps ahead of us. And then we've got like the ultimate SOTA summiter, with like the most amount of the highest peaks in the world. ZL4RA, how are you?
Yeah, there's a long list of accolades there, but thanks for just scraping the surface. How's it going?
And then we've got rounding out the panel is Charlie, Red Summit RF, who you've just got so many great videos to do with SOTA, so it's good to have you on the channel as well, Charlie. And you've got a Cycle 25 shirt. How cool is that?
Yeah. Hey, I don't know who to thank for this, but whoever sent it to me, thank you. They even knew my size number.
Did you receive just an anonymous package that...
Yeah, I seriously, I did. I don't know. I'm very grateful.
Oh, well, there's a lot of donuts being spoken about in the live chat, so if anyone wants to send us some donuts, go ahead. All right,
those would be going to Sean.
Yes, sir.
Oh, sorry, Sean.
So
it's the cop fireman thing.
So we're talking about SOTA today. So I guess the first thing to start off with, for ones like myself and for others watching, we should start off with the question, well, what is SOTA? So who wants to have a crack at that?
Dude?
Well, the correct way would be summits on the air, but if you're like me, I call it sofas on the air. That was my mistake over the stream the other day. But yeah, it's Summits on the Air. So essentially the point is, and from what I understand, is that you have a set list of SOTAs or summits that are able to be activated around the country, around the world. And once you get to that summit, you can activate it with so many contacts, and that's what I don't know too much about from here.
That's it, man.
Yeah, you could bring a sofa to a summit.
Yeah.
And do double duty there.
It'd be quite a climb with it too. I don't think I can make it as small as you make your antennas, so it might be hard to bring it up the summit.
They have those blow up ones, man.
Oh,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Inflatable antenna or inflatable sofa?
Well, forget that antenna. It was
It's
a
both.
Load
Yeah,
up.
it's totally both. That 20-meter one did a great job.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to
That
say
video from
there's a lot of there. It is very defined in some ways, but just like with the ham radio in general, the approach to SOTA can be so different, and you can do so many different. You can. There's just so many different ways to approach SOTA, just like with ham radio. Some people I have interviewed who have done completely FM. They do FM sideband, CW, and that's all they've ever done, and they've done many peaks. Some they just are trail runners. Some can only do drive ups. So it's very broad, but really it's just getting up on top of a mountain, getting out and enjoying it, similar to POTA, and accumulating points to kind of gauge how well you're doing.
So how many contacts? So you find a summit, and I guess we'll go into that a little bit later on where you can actually find a list of summits to go up. But you find a summit to go up, and how many contacts do you need to successfully activate a summit or a peak?
So to officially activate the summit, you only need one, but to get the points for the summit, you need 4.
Correct.
So and I think one of the key things to understand with SOTA, we're talking about points, but it's not a contest. It's an awards program, just like a worked all states type program. You're not competing with anyone. You're mostly striving for different goals within the program, and maybe Radio Runner can talk a little bit about some of what he's been working on with that. He's been doing some pretty cool stuff with setting up some ways for people to strive for different goals within the systems than the standard ones. So the standard goal, kind of the primary goal that people are shooting for, is the mountain goat status, which is 1,000 activator points.
Yeah, and it's pretty challenging to get there. Some people have done it in less than a year, but I'd say average 1.5 years maybe to get there if you're really trying hard. And because the most you can ever get in one activation is 10 points, and then occasionally you can get a 3 bonus points. So the most ever is 3 for each activation. But the 10 point with 3 bonus points, they're kind of hard to come by. So you can't go out and just hit a bunch of 10 pointers. You got to kind of mix it up. So it does take a while. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody lives in a different place as well. So everyone's got a different association, and associations have different rules. Well, sorry, they have the same rules, but they've got different bands that they decide where the delineations are for the points for the hills.
Yes.
So if you live somewhere where there's only, like your high, like let's say you're in Scotland, right, and your highest hill is 1,300 meters, that'll be a 10-pointer. But if you live in Colorado, that's not going to be a 10-pointer because they have much bigger hills, right? So just because you've got little hills doesn't mean you're necessarily going to struggle with the points, because it just gets adjusted. If you've got smaller hills, those bands get dropped down. And also there's like associations, other than that, they're totally different as well. Like Charlie's saying, if you're busting it, you might get your goat in a year or 18 months. The ZL3 association's 6 years old, and we don't even have a half goat, and there's people trying really hard. So it's really like Adam says, man, it's not, everyone's different, everyone's doing their own thing. And I wouldn't feel like you couldn't get into it because, hey, my mountains aren't big, or hey, NJ7V's mountains are much bigger, or whatever it is.
That's what Steve's saying in the chat. Not many mountains, especially where I live. It's mostly flat. And I think our Texas friends who usually join into our live streams, they usually say that because Texas is so flat, there's no mountains, so there's not much SOTA activity going on. But
yeah, I think there's 4 states in the United States. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's 4 states that don't have any known, 0 mountain or eligible summits, and the rest of the
right?
states do so. Yeah, I think in the central Midwest, like the Great Plains, like Oklahoma, Kansas, kind of in that area. Maybe Michigan. I'm not
Florida,
sure.
too.
But then those that who can't be activators, they can still be chasers, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you get points for chasing?
You do.
Yeah, man, you totally do. You get the same number of you get the same number of points minus the bonus points. You don't get those, but it's not I can tell you, it's super unfun. Busting your hump doing like 30 Ks and 2,000 meters of vert through snow and like dodging Yetis and running away from wolves and stuff. And you get to the top and there's no chasers there for you, man. Like they're super essential. You know, you got to have both sides. It's the yin and the yang. It's not just about the activators.
You have Yetis there?
Yeah.
Oh, are they native?
Big ones. This season, they've been massive.
Oh, okay.
No, they're not native. They're from VK7, I think.
No, all of ours are in captivity.
Wow. Are they? Anyway, moving on.
Going back to the award, so you spoke about, Adam, the Mountain Goat Award. Is there an equivalent for a chaser?
Yes, and it's called Shack Sloth. 1,000 chaser points earns you a Shack Sloth status, and there are chasers out there that are ridiculous about this stuff and have hundreds of thousands of points. Chasing is actually really fun. It's an awesome challenge to see if you can optimize your system at home to hear someone running a tiny little mountain topper with a crappy little K6ARK end-fed half-wave from a mountaintop, halfway around the world.
Those don't work.
They don't work at all.
I've never seen you make a contact with one, let alone
Never.
a DX contact.
Right.
I'm glad you said it, buddy. I'm glad you said it. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I saw you and Runner fake that whole contact thing in those two videos.
Yep.
I know it wasn't real.
Yep.
I'm just giving you guys a hard time. That was
5G network.
fantastic. That was amazing.
5G is awesome.
But I think the point is that there is something for people that like chasing special event stations or POTA. SOTA is very similar in that it's a solid challenge, and you have a goal to work toward in earning those chaser points toward your Shack Sloth status. You can chase as a chaser. You can earn points by chasing each summit once per UTC day. So that's kind of the standard schedule from a chaser perspective. And I saw a question from the No Code Tech in the chat. As an activator, how often can you activate a summit? You can activate a summit as many times as you want, but you can only earn points for it once per calendar year. So that's kind of the distinction there. And it resets every January 1st.
Yeah, and there is a caveat to that too. I'd like to add, because this is something I'm doing this summer. I don't always do this, but I went up on. I did a six summits in 12-hour challenge and hit like 6 peaks in one day. Got the 2 points for all those, but those are usually summits I hit in the summer, and so I'm going to go back and hit every one of those in the same calendar year and get 3 more points for each of them because they're worth bonus points, and you can get the bonus points and the other points separate, and so. For me, it'll be 2 trips, but I'll get the same amount of points in the end.
Yeah, that's it.
In a calendar year, is that also based? Is the timing based on UTC timing? Because I know that there's a amateur here he'll go up on New Year's Day, which is still New Year's Eve UTC, and he'll activate 1 peak. Then he'll go to in the previous year he'll go to the new peak. Activate that in the previous year, stay at the second peak, activate it in the new year, and then track back and go to the other peak. So he gets 4 times the activation, I suppose. So that's a strategy, I suppose, that he's implemented.
Sounds like cheating to me, mate. That's cheating, right, Adam? I'm pretty sure that's cheating.
Oh yeah, totally cheating.
No one would ever do that.
The other thing you can do is if you happen to be on a summit on over the UTC rollover, so here in California 4 or 5 p.m. depending on if it's daylight saving time or not, the chasers can work you before and after that rollover, and they can earn those extra points by chasing you twice on technically two separate days. You don't get the separate points for you because you've already activated it in that calendar year by that point, but it's nice for the chasers, and you get a few more contacts in the log.
And what's the point of that, you would say? Well, I think that a big point is that we really want to encourage, like Radio Runner said, you want to have this community of chasers, and you want to make your chasers happy. You want to be able to have chasers, and so you do that sometimes just as a way to give them the extra points and say, hey, I appreciate you.
100%, man.
Let's welcome Josh, KI6NAZ, who has joined us here below Adam. We were just talking about SOTA experts.
Well, you already got him here.
That's right.
You don't need
we use
me.
that term very loosely.
Accomplished SOTA people in here like Adam.
So, what were we talking about? We were talking about points and activation. So, what kind of gear should we be looking at bringing up? So, I guess we've mentioned some FM, just some SOTA operators, or some activators just use FM. So, something as simple as a handheld can get you on the air on SOTA, I suppose.
Get the cheapest. Well, not even the cheapest. Just use what you've got. Like I think in ham radio, people really have this because it's kind of a technical field, and it attracts a certain kind of person. The kind of person that gets drawn into this is they're a really technical, methodical person, and they're going to say, okay, cool. Here's this problem. Here's this SOTA problem, this portable activating thing. How can I crush this? How can I do an awesome job with this? What do I need? How am I going to do it? What's the perfect gear? All that sort of stuff. And that's fine, but I would just recommend doing it, man. Just whatever you've got. If you've got a Baofeng, use a Baofeng. If you've got a Yaesu, use a Yaesu HT. If you've got a 817, use that. There's no perfect kit. So just whatever you've got, or whatever you can get easily and cheaply to give it a crack, I would totally do that. You don't want to be investing thousands of dollars in the random kit thinking it's the best, and then you realize, hey, you know what? I actually don't like the Alleycraft KX2 or whatever it is. So just whatever you've got. Just use whatever you've got.
Yeah, and I would add that all of us, I think, here who have done this a lot, or most of us anyway, started out with a much heavier pack with gear that didn't quite match what we really wanted to do at first. And over time, it gets refined, and you kind of decide what you want and what works best for you in the end anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, out here in Southern California, you can crank on FM simplex, and you can be done with an activation in like less than 10 minutes. So that's definitely a place to start. So you really got to appreciate where you are geographically, what your local FM is like. Otherwise, I think a lot of people, when they think of Summits on the Air, they think about HF radio, QRP, HF radio, going out there, pulling down these crazy contacts. And that's kind of the romantic, magical side of it, is when you do take something that puts out very little power, a wire antenna, and all of a sudden you're talking to other countries, which I think that's not too difficult to get into, but there's probably a little bit of learning and experience that goes along with it.
Or taking two element beams to the top of summits and on rotators as well.
Yeah, that's.
Yep. I would agree, and I've a lot of times I've told people that they need to, if there's somebody in their area, go with somebody. You really learn a lot from watching somebody set up and tear down and activate. I mean, you can see stuff on our YouTube videos, but to see it start to end, it's really helpful, I think, and you should do that.
I have a perfect example of that. Jerry, KG6HQD, who's out of the hospital. I hope he's doing well. Good to hear that he's on the mend. Really, the best experience I had was just Jerry taking me out on a one-pointer that was kind of in between us. We just met up, and I dragged out a freestanding dipole with a tripod, and my pack was so overweight. I was dying, because for some people say some of the one-pointers are the hardest hikes you can get yourself on sometimes.
True.
They're in really crazy places. And I was just dying. And he's like got his little speaker wire dipole connected to his KX2 and inline recorder, and he's doing the GoPro thing. And I was like, oh man, this is exactly how it should be done. I believe I had a handheld gimbal, like one of those ones with some kind of, I think it might have been for my phone or something. But I was like, man, this is totally changed the way I thought about it. And that kind of changed the whole direction that I took kind of outdoor, not just SOTA, but outdoor portable ham radio.
Awesome. Yeah, like I said, it's like you don't know what you're into. You might hate it, But and you never start a new hobby and you got all the answers, right? Everyone's different. Everyone's got a different jam. So you just take your time. You grab things as you need them, and just slowly work on your kit and work on being more effective and efficient.
Marty KM6PRA says we're missing Ham Radio 2.0 and K8MRD. Well, 50% of them have turned up. How are you, Jason?
Hey, am I on? Oh, okay.
You are on.
Man, I'm tired.
I've been streaming
feel
for
you
like
there.
2 days straight.
Yeah, I've been streaming all day. 10.5 hours yesterday, about 8.5 today. So
I saw that yesterday when you finished. I saw 10 hours. I'm like, is that a mistake? Am I tired?
No.
Am I not reading the numbers correctly?
no, yeah, no, that's it. Thanks for having me, dude.
And that's you've been in the chat in your stream the whole time? Because what are you streaming?
I was streaming the HamSci event. It's an annual event about ham science and space weather that they have out of Tennessee, and it's been virtual this year and last year. So it's a bunch of science guys getting together and talking about space weather and that kind of stuff. Really, stuff that's way over my head. Tamitha was on there, so Tamitha Skov, she was on there talking. I got props for that. People came in the YouTube stream like, "Wow, she's on your channel," and I'm like, "I guess I need to invite her on my channel now. She's popular." So, but no, it was all good. It's a fantastic learning experience. Like I said, stuff that's usually way over my head, and really nice group of guys out there.
They had some really good, some fantastic. I'm with you. With some of that stuff, over my head, but I mean, they had some of the propagation stuff they were talking about was really interesting and educational. And there was even a session on there about new hams and helping. You got to watch out for the nomenclature and that type of stuff. There's some good stuff in there.
Yeah,
it's worth a watch.
Definitely. Yeah, good people out there. So,
is it your birthday today, Jason?
It is my birthday today.
Oh,
Hey.
Happy birthday!
My wife bought me a bottle of Scotch single malt.
Is that a space side?
Highland single malt Scotch whiskey, Glenmorangie.
Oh, good.
Oh,
However you pronounce that. So,
beautiful, man.
cheers to all you guys. So,
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Here's
boy.
you got a super chat in there too. It looks like.
I do have a super chat from Kay Ensman. Thank you very much for your support of the channel. We did have a question earlier on, which it relates to Australia, but it may also, there may be a location for the US and other areas as well. Is there a file to show SOTA summits for Google Earth? Or on Google Earth?
Yeah. So your best bet is to go to sotamaps.org. And I can potentially share a screen here. Let's give that a try.
I may potentially beat you to it.
Oh. Yeah, there you go.
Ready. They are all of the summits in my area.
So there's a couple cool features in here. If you go up to the mapping button at the top and then click on range mapping page, you can select, let's see, where is it? Is there a button to set range up at the top somewhere?
Maybe I will let you share your screen and then
Yeah.
navigate through.
No worries, you got it. All right, let's give it a try here. Okay, share screen. Let's see.
Josh is talking to his kid. I bet you $10.
Here we go.
It's not.
They're
It's
asking
not
me
water
about
balloons
ice cream.
again, is it, Josh?
No, and they did that without my permission too.
I would like some ice cream. It's my birthday. Give me some ice cream over here.
Yeah.
You may have some ice cream, Jason.
I
You've
got
been
a-
a good boy today.
I got a
Sorry,
dozen
are you
donuts
able
I'll
to-
share with you.
When we did our video on amateur licenses around the world, Josh just kept getting interrupted by his kids just saying, "Water balloons, water balloons."
Those ones that attach to the hose with the little octopus fingers with the balloons on the end.
Oh, yeah.
They took them, and I said no, but then they just took them anyway and did it. And like, what's he going to do? He can't stop us. He's doing video, so it's like, okay, you're not wrong.
Okay.
So are you guys able to see the map there?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. All right. So up under mapping here, the one I use the most commonly is range mapping page. So I'll open that, and then up in the upper left corner here, you can define the range. And slowly it will load. Basically what that lets you do is to type in an address or city or feature. So I'm going to type in San Diego, California, and I will say I want everything within a closed circle of 50 kilometers, and I'll hit map. So this brings up a range ring on the page with San Diego at the center, and it shows you all the SOTA summits in that area. So, and then you can actually click on each one of these if you want, and it'll give you more info about the summit, link you to the SOTA page. Some of them even have a photo like this one does, tells you who was the latest activation. And if you click on the link here, you can go to the SOTA page for it. And it tells you, all the details from the SOTA page. Now, one of the other things you can do from this SOTA mapping website, if you go back to the main mapping page, what I typically do is I select an association like W6, which is California, and then I will choose all regions, and then I will go down here on the left to export, and I will export that to a GPX file. And GPX files, or KML, if you want to import it into Google Earth, allow you to import that data set, that whole state worth of SOTA summits, into whatever mapping software you want to use, which I personally use one called, what is it called? I use Backcountry Navigator on my Android device, and I've got in my phone a mapping application with every SOTA summit in California, and I think Arizona, Nevada, and Oregon already preloaded in my phone for offline use. So really useful tool.
And why would you do that?
Dude.
Why would you have all of them in there? The answer is because you may never know when you're near one at some point and just want to grab it.
Now, and new summits are being put in there all the time? Is it being constantly updated?
Not
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
Unless it's a mistake.
The summits in the US are pretty complete in the data set so far. So that kind of goes back to the question of what counts as a summit for SOTA. And it's based on prominence. Prominence is essentially if you raised sea level until that summit was an island separated by water from any other higher summit, it would still have to be 150 meters above sea level for most regions. Some of them use a different value for that prominence limit, but most of them are 150 meters, which is just under 500 feet.
It's 150 feet in Texas, just so you know.
Is it really?
No, I'm joking. Wow. We don't have summits out here.
that would be nice.
I was tired. Nobody got that. Nobody got that. I thought I was tired.
I got it.
I was trying to figure out where the 150-foot peak was in Texas. Is that a water tower?
I can show you some of those. I can show you a 150-foot peak. That's no problem.
Yeah, I think some do 125, but I don't know. I'm not sure of any that go lower than that. Some of the others might know, but typically it's 150 meters, and the only changes at this point really are when you have like USGS changes in measurements of passes and things like that would determine peaks that are kind of on the boundary of whether or not they're distinct summits, and it might change that. So
we had a change recently in Arizona where they added, I don't know, like 300 summits or whatever. And it was because we were kind of an early add-on to the program, and there were a few that were not added by the person who added them, and there was a few things. So it's the group, the SOTA organization, is going through and kind of cleaning things up and making everything as standardized as possible. and that brought us up to standard, I think.
That would be good, because I know, I'm not joking now. I've looked up some summits that are like 2 to 3 hours west of me, and and there's a bunch of them out there that have never been activated. And after doing a little bit of research, they're all on private property, man. And I'm like, how are these being designated? How are you designating a summit that's on private property? So I guess they just don't know. They're probably doing what Adam was saying, was just kind of like taking the elevation and doing the math on it, and then it's like, this is where it is, regardless of who owns this piece of property.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Well, this is kind of where what happened with Arizona too, because the association manager that set this up in Arizona at first, they said, "Oh, I'll look at all these summits in the Grand Canyon. Nobody could ever get to those. And look, there's Weaver's Needle over there. Nobody can ever get to that. That requires climbing gear. So I'm just going to leave them off." And of course, people have climbing gear and can do it. So it's just a blanket. You know, it doesn't matter if it's private property or not. If it meets the criteria, it's on there. And we've had problems here in Arizona because Indian or Native American land, the reservations, private property, but they're there, and people go into the reservation and risk being arrested and all their property being confiscated. But they're there.
We've got a lot of different summits that are in, like Chevron, like owns them. The land, so they're technically fenced in, but they're not ever really. There's nobody really out there, and it's one of those. Are you supposed to do that? No, but then you go on, the SOTA websites and you see, it was activated a month ago. It's like, so what's going on there? Because they don't actually allow access to them unless it's somebody that works for Chevron or one of those companies. But I'm sure people jump fences.
Yeah, it's a real big. It's actually like it's a really big. It's a bit of an issue, right? It is like just like in ham radio. Like one of the underlying rules of it is that you need to be a gentleman or a gentle lady, right? You just need to conduct yourself with like in a good way. So yeah, the SOTA database, it's just based on the data. It doesn't know who owns what. Here are the peaks. Here are the peaks that have to require prominence in your area. It's really important that before you go and jump up that peak, that you know who owns that land. And there's a skill to that. It's not super easy. It's much easier to just go, oh, hey, there it is. I'm going to go do it. But it's super important that you get permission to do it. If you don't have permission to activate that summit, even if you don't get picked up by the police, like Charlie was saying, it's an illegitimate activation, right? Well, if you don't have permission to do it, you can't do it.
As a gentleman, I always wear a 3-piece suit before I trespass doing a SOTA activation. That's I found that works out really well. And if you have a monocle, that's an instant piece of authority. Yeah, when you get to summit.
Yeah, totally.
So, but you've got to run less than a watt, and it's got to be C-dubs. Otherwise, that costume just
correct. Yes,
right?
You know.
Yeah. I mean, it's under this.
Paul makes a good point in the chat about a safety message. When you are going on a summit, just be careful with your footing, and some of these places can be quite hair raising and
I have a whiteboard, a little small whiteboard that wherever I'm parking, I'll write, heading to such and such summit, and I assume I'm going to take this long to get to summit. I am monitoring this frequency in case something like that comes up. Peace of mind, and of course, tell people at home where you're going. Right, you do the right thing.
There's a lot of trails too. At least one thing I know, there's a lot of trails that when you get to the start of the trail, wherever you're going to be going, you could actually sign in where you're going, how long you plan to be gone, in the path that you think you're taking too. So on top of filling it out on the car, fill it out there as well. Just have that extra little bit of reassurance.
Assuming you have that at your
Assuming you have it. Yeah, absolutely. I know they're all over Arizona, but I don't know about other places.
One of the reasons I've been a bit hesitant to go on a SOTA summit in the last few months is because it's been summer here and we have a lot of snakes that are out and about. And if you go by yourself, it is a very risky thing to do. So if you can go with someone else, it's always advisable, so that if something does happen, then at least you've got the support of someone with you.
Y'all have those like rainforest snakes out there, right? Like those pit vipers and stuff. Like They
double
look
dare,
at they,
double
they,
dare fighters and
yeah,
stuff.
they like look
You
at
see
you
'em on
real
the way to
hard
the
and you
shops.
die instantly or
No,
something.
no.
like
That's the Yetis. That's
That's
the Yetis.
Medusa, I think.
I'll get some photos up. I kind
my-
of did hope that if I ever did a SOTA summit, that I would come across a snake so that I could get it on video, of course. But
I think that's a great point too, though. Is with the snakes, it's ultimately it's know your terrain, right? So you sit there and you're going to go out on vacation to Colorado, and you don't know the terrain, and you're just going to go hike it. Well, you better be prepared with the water, the food, whatever you're going to need for that hike, and you better be sure that you could do it. You don't want to just start hiking and 4 miles in realize that you weren't prepared, because that's the worst time to.
The 10 essentials.
No, you're
Yeah.
not.
Well, I
Really
think
good, so.
my number one thing is if I run into a snake, don't forget to turn on the GoPro. That's number
Yes,
one.
absolutely. Spoken
We're
like a true
super-
YouTuber. That's a true YouTuber right there. Yeah.
We're super lucky here because we've actually got someone here that's going to come and save your butt if you make a horrible mistake. So, Adam, what are the most common things people get wrong? But what do you reckon? Like top 3, top 5? What happens?
Trying to take shortcuts. That's what our rescue last night was, or early this morning. It was a couple of guys that went on a local hike here down to some waterfalls, and they decided to go off trail and thought they were taking a shortcut back to their car, which didn't end well. Oh, nice. They also
these are the kind of snakes that we have to deal with.
They
Of course,
didn't,
we
they
don't
didn't
get that close to them.
Thanks, but no.
They didn't have a bunch of their 10 essential items. They didn't have headlamps. It got dark on them, and they got stranded on a hillside that had a bunch of cliffs and really technical terrain. They didn't have warm clothing. They were wearing T-shirts, and it was about 40 degrees out, so they were shivering pretty good when we got to them. They didn't have any navigation equipment. They didn't have enough food and water. So the 10 essentials is really a key piece to that, and then planning your route well, staying on trails, and using the standard path to get to and from places.
Really great video that Josh did last week about the 10 essentials in your get home bag. I noted everything on a notepad when he was going through everything in his pack. So I thought that was great info.
Yep.
And I went pretty light with it. And I was a Boy Scout, so I would argue that the quote unquote 10 essentials that the Boy Scouts have, it can be upgraded a bit, and it should be considered your geographic area and the weather that you're going to experience. That should definitely be a factor in whatever you're doing. It's really just it's a fun discussion you have with yourself on a Sunday morning over a cup of coffee, right? You just sit down and start thinking about the possibilities. What if it's a 5 why thing that I use at work? Ask why 5 times, like, what can happen, et cetera, et cetera.
About the only, I liked your list. I agreed with 99% of it. You left out the Glock. Other than that, I think it was a great, great list.
I didn't. I won't mention that here because I am in California. I don't need a video record of anything in that sense.
Yeah. He's already carrying like a 3-piece suit weight, and he's got his monocle weight as well.
Right. And then I've got my sword cane that I have, and then my truncheon, and then everything else that goes into it. But
Hate mail.
Summit ascension weight in grains.
So back to knowing your terrain, I think that there's another point here, and that is how you deploy and how you operate really is a big factor of your terrain. For example, here in Arizona, in the Sonoran Desert anyway, there are no trees. There is nothing to throw a piece of string up over to hoist your antenna. You just can't. You have to have some sort of mast system. Whereas in Georgia, I know guys that never carry a mast because everywhere in Georgia has trees, and so your terrain really does matter. Like as well as the first aid aspect of it, it's how you operate as well.
That's actually a pretty
huge
good
variation.
point, even for. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying you had some really big variation in Arizona. The southern part, you don't have anything to throw it over, but you're up in the north with me. There was plenty of stuff up there.
Yep, that's true.
And sorry, I didn't properly introduce you too, Chris. Thank you for joining in on the stream, and I will put a link to your website in the chat, which has got a lot of your SOTA blogs and information on it too. So I've just done that.
Oh, cool! Yeah, I wrote an article on safety, hamninja.com/safety. Just had some 10 essentials on there and some of the things you guys are talking about.
Did you already mention the Bofy bag, Adam, or the Bothy bag?
No, I didn't. But the Bovie bag is a really useful tool for poor weather on summits, and it's a good emergency tool to have too. It's basically a tent with no poles that just pulls over the top of you, and they make 2-person ones, which fit basically you and your pack, or you and your closest buddy, if you want to stay warm in a storm. Up to I think like 20-person one. They make some really large ones, but BOTHY Bovie bag is a great tool for emergency use and for summits where you plan to activate in less than optimal weather conditions.
And always bring a first aid kit.
Yes, indeed.
And know how to use it. I mean,
That's a good point.
same with that firearm. It's
It
There
can't
you
just
go.
be Band-Aids. It can't just be Band-Aids either.
yeah.
There was so going back to those summits which are on private land, we did have, if you can't get to the actual summit because of restrictions, how close are you allowed to activate to the summit?
It's a good question.
25 meters.
Yep.
Adam?
The activation zone is defined as 25 vertical meters, or about 85 feet elevation from the summit. So on some summits, that's a very small area. On other summits, it's maybe 1 or 2 square miles. It varies significantly depending on the shape of the summit.
Grand Canyon is a great example of that. We have a summit called Grandview Benchmark that's, I think, 3 or 4 miles square, the activation zone.
Wow.
Now, that site that you showed us, Adam, to look at all the summits, does it actually show you what that limitation is? Or do you have to, like, sit there?
Yeah, so you can look at topo maps, and that'll help. Look at the topographic lines, but your best bet is to probably use an altimeter as you near the summit. And I think the SOTA Goat app, if you're an iDevice user, has a function where it tells you whether or not you're in the activation zone based on your elevation.
Yeah, it does.
It's a cool feature.
I don't know how
that comes up so rarely, though, right, Adam? I mean, most of the time you want to get to the very top. And you try your damnedest to do so. If you can.
So the summit that I was just looking at that I found surprisingly didn't know existed around here, the top of the summit's a church. So there might be a little problem, say, on a Sunday morning, and that's kind of why I'm thinking, well, what would I do? So that does help out a lot, because if I can get close to the church without obviously disturbing them.
Yeah, like Charlie says, we're always trying to do the best that you can, so you want to get, I mean, sometimes it's just you're going to die if you're on the summit, and sometimes summits are just you're going to be hanging on gear to be getting it done. But yeah, you want to get as high as you possibly can. If you can get to the top, then that's the story.
Right. Yeah, and there have been times though where I've been very grateful that the activation zone is kind of wider, because if it's really windy, and I've seen Adam do this too, you want to kind of go off the edge of so you can protect yourself a little bit, and also you can help with propagation that way too. If you go off of one side, then it helps ground reflection a little bit. So
the other reason I will often not set up right on a summit is if it's just a really popular or busy summit and there's a bunch of other people there. I don't want to be a problem to them or have them not enjoy their time on the summit while I'm there, because I've got a massive antenna up and I'm yelling into a radio. So
yeah, so that activation zone, like you guys said, it's really nice to have that flexibility that you don't have to be right at the point, the apex. You can be down off any side a little bit to get away. Yeah.
Wind too. It's nice to position for wind.
Yep.
I can just imagine dude going up to that summit and loading up on 40 meters, and he starts coming through the church's PA system. Or
I can imagine that.
Summit's on the air.
We'll see.
We'll see. Adam, do you want to talk about our plans for this summer?
Yeah, I can mention it. We're working on planning a Sierra backpacking trip, a couple nights up in the eastern Sierra, which is a beautiful part of the mountains of California. And the goal is to get a bunch of the YouTubers together and hopefully go activate a summit that's up a little over 12,000 feet up there. So pretty cool place, and it should be a good time. I think the September date looks like it's the most likely one. That's the one that the most people can attend. So that's probably
the last time out there. Last time I looked at it, you were saying June. So okay.
Yeah, we
I'll
had
have to-
the 3 weekends on there, and the September
Right.
one, for the last I checked, had the most people able to go.
Okay, I'll hit you up afterwards because I don't remember
Cool.
when that is, but we'll get it. That's fine.
Sounds good.
That's going to be fun because I'm going to actually learn how
Yeah.
to SOTA from the SOTA master. So I'm looking forward to it.
He could be Soda instead of Yoda.
Not that Josh wasn't good. Josh planned a really great trip a year and a half ago at Pacifico, and that was really fun, especially for someone who's never been up on a mountain before. Not in that regard, anyway. That was a fun trip. I enjoyed that. I thought that was really good. And the only reason I was like second to last up there is because I waited for Chuck. That's my story.
We're gonna do it again. I
Good.
just get
I'd
it.
love to
We're
do it again.
gonna get out of COVID. At least get some vaccines in the arm. We'll probably do a drive up though. Is what I'd like to do.
That's all right.
That would be a little crazy because then we're gonna be out there with amps and stuff. I think.
Well, you know what? Doing a drive up might work for me because I'm building out an overlanding kit in my truck.
Nice.
So that might actually give me a reason to drive to California. So that's a thing.
That's the only good reason I'm thinking at this point.
Chris and I can go up a summit and we'll try and work it.
I have to check. They're going to check my passport when I come to the border, I'm sure. But
With Adam's trip, though, the important thing to keep in mind is the Sierras. We've all got to consider bear bags and bear boxes for food. This is a proper couple overnight backpack trip. Adam's going to have some classes on getting your gear squared away because it's not just roll out there with cotton Walmart gear. It's got a little thought goes into it.
Right.
Or it might be a good SAR training opportunity.
Yes. Well, yeah. And
Try
you
to
know what?
avoid that.
That is, you know what that is? Everything y'all just said is perfect video material. All of that is excellent video material. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that's going to be a fun trip. I'm really looking forward to that. And if it's not till September, I've got that much more time to train for it and actually get myself in better shape. So, and stop drinking scotch, but that's not today.
That's a problem for future me.
Future me.
Earlier, we were talking about the ascent. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Hayden.
Oh, I was just going to say one of the things that we haven't covered is I noticed, especially in Adam's videos, and I think also Charlie's, is that you've got a phone or you've got apps that you use while you're up on top of the summit. What apps do you use to log contacts and also do you submit them later, or how do you go about it?
Yeah, so I like using a phone app for contact logging. I've used a couple different ones. VK Portalog with hyphens in between. And that one works pretty good. You have to download it directly from a website. It's not in the Google Play Store. It's an Android-only app. The other one that I've been using more lately, and I think I prefer at this point, they kind of each have their pros and cons, is one called OutD-Log, O-U-T Delta, OutD. And it exists. Yeah, it exists for I think for iOS as well as Android, which is kind of nice. And it's very simple to use, and it makes it exceptionally simple to upload your logs at the end of the day when you're done activating.
Do those apps also spot you, or do you have to do that separately?
Yeah, they.
Yeah, you have options for spotting through the apps as well.
Yeah. So I
used
use
to use Hamlog.
Yeah, Hamlog's what I have on here.
Problem with Hamlog, it's great and I like it for portable ops, but the problem with Hamlog is if you have summit to summit, you have to put it in the comments and then afterwards you have to export it and you have to adjust the comments to the it's not made for summits on the air.
It's not. Yeah, I would agree with that. It's not the greatest. I tried to use it for Parks on the Air one time, and it was fine. It worked fine. And if you have an internet connection, it'll pull down the person's contact info when you put it in their call sign. But yes, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I've got a comment about OutD. I did do a review. It's on hamninja.com/OutD. But the cool thing about it is not only being able to spot from it, but you can also. I like to do summit to summit chasing. So that's really easy. You just click on it shows you the spots. You just click and hold on it, and it loads all the information right into your log, and you're ready to go. All you got to do is add your RSD. You're good to go. So I've switched from Hamlog over to that. And also it really helped out when I started doing multiple summits in a day. that was a huge help.
Is this correct that OutD log costs $2.99?
Yeah, I think it costs.
Okay. I mean, that's okay.
Well,
I just want to make sure I'm getting the right one. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
$2. The bridge
Yeah.
too far. We found it.
Yeah.
GPAMs in
If-
the world
if
are,
it's
are
less than-
screaming out.
If it's less than a fang, I'm good. You know.
Yeah. So I don't
No,
use
they're 47 cents, aren't they?
I don't use a phone to log with. I don't. I've tried them, and I prefer. I mean, I've went through. I've tried Hamlog. I've tried VK Portalog. I've tried OutD, and I've even tried this other one here. It's called. It was referred to me, and it's called UDX Log. It's I think somebody in Scotland made it, but they're all good. And my favorite is OutD. And if I ever comes to a point where I forget my pencil again and don't have any paper, then I'll use OutD. But I'm a paper guy, so what I do is I log with paper, and then I go ahead and I use a SOTA log editor to log everything manually, and then it exports to a file that will go up into the SOTA database and also to the a logbook of the world. So that's what I do. I also have an app called SOTA Spotter. I like that. That's how I follow the people who are spotting.
I have that.
And I like that, the look and feel of that the best. And then, but to spot, which I think we'll probably talk about a little bit. It's very important to spot. I actually use SMS to spot myself, and it seems like it gets out better. And so you have to set that up with a guy in Europe, and you just once you get whitelisted, then you just send a text with a certain format, and it'll automatically spot you in the SOTA spotter.
So that's
You could use
specific
Ham
to
Alert as well.
It's specific to SOTA. What was the other question?
Specific to SOTA. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Ham alert. You have to set up Ham alert for yourself and follow whatever call signs you want to follow. So a good thing to do is if you're going to go out to a SOTA contact, get on your YouTube channel and tell everyone what you're doing and ask them to download Ham alert and put your call sign in it. You could do it like that. But Ham alert's an awesome app. I love Ham alert. But
Sometimes
I have all you guys in Ham alert, but it's up to you to put whatever call signs in it that you want to watch for.
Sometimes you get out there and you just don't have cell phone coverage. So I've used APRS before to spot.
Yeah.
And that's
and I've used the GPS. What is it? Garmin GPS.
Iridium.
Yeah, Iridium. I've used Iridium to do that.
Cool.
But, and I do that when I forget to put my alert up, because when I'm doing CW, it automatically spots with the RBN.
Yeah.
But if I'm doing sideband or something like that, then Iridium is the last option.
Chuck put a comment in earlier in the chat about SOTA Goat. So what's that app, Chuck?
It's just an app that you can use that I find it easier than the SOTA site personally, but after watching Adam there, I learned a little bit tonight. So you can put it on your phone, and I think Adam said it's only iPhone, but it
is. Only
it will
iPhone.
give you your area. Like when you're in the activation area, you go in and it has like a green circle around you, I think it is, or a gray circle. I don't know how accurate that is, but it should be fairly accurate. It costs you $1 or $2, I think, also, but totally worth it, I think.
I will say this about that app: if it were offered in Android, it would probably be my number one app. I've seen it. I've used it when somebody else's iPhone. It is a great app, just not available for Android.
Which is weird. I mean,
Yeah.
usually it's the other way around.
Usually.
You were all talking about spotting yourselves and maybe APRS if you didn't have anything, but what is like the typical or the best way to spot yourself when you get up there? Or what would like the step to take be?
Well, I'd say, first of all, it is very important to spot yourself. You need to make sure that you do. If you get up there and just start calling CQ, you're going to make life very hard for yourself. Okay. So, yes, definitely one of the major steps in doing summits on the air is to spot yourself. Like I said, I use SMS in most ideal situations and spot myself. If I need to spot myself for, like, say, FM, voice, anything voice, I'll use that. And it usually works pretty good. But if I'm doing CW only, then the way to do that is if you put an alert up with the time you think you're going to arrive, then it'll, as long as you're sending CW an hour between in the window, which is an hour before or 3 hours after that time you think you're going to be there. If you're sending CW, the RBN network will pick you up and spot you automatically.
Awesome, thank you.
So if you spot, if you spot using one app, it'll then cover all the others, and other people should get alerts as well. That's where you're active.
Yeah, there's one central location.
Most apps, that's true. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess that spotting in advance. So if you're going into an area that you're not going to have cell phone coverage, it's a good idea to spot in advance to say the time that you're expected to start operating from.
An alert. That would be an alert. The spot. The problem when you put an alert out there, you inevitably get out to the summit, and then that frequency is not going to work for you. So you're going to end up moving frequency around. So when you find something and you start calling, that's when you drop the spot, just so that you're kind of trying to hold it a little bit. Particularly for the voice people, spotting is much more important. As already been mentioned, the reverse beacon network will spot you if you're using CW.
Also,
so that'll
you can
spot you
ask
if you're using
people to
FT-8.
spot you. If you make a contact,
I'm sorry, Chuck. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say that you can also ask people to spot you if you do make a contact. If you've already made one contact,
that's true. Yeah,
Very nice.
I use that sometimes.
If you can use SMS, like I'm not aware of this thing that Charlie's talking about, but I'm going to look into it. That sounds like a great option. But if you can use SMS, if you can send a text message when you're on the summit, then text message your wife and say, "Hey, honey, log on and spot me," or a friend or something. So those of us like Josh and myself, whose wives have ham licenses, then we can do that. So I'm playing around, but seriously, like you could text a friend or something, or one of you guys, and say, "Hey, spot me here," and I'd be like, "Cool, I'll do that for you."
Yeah.
So,
and as a courtesy, oftentimes the chasers will say, "Hey, do you need me to spot you?" And,
I've heard that before.
And so if you're a chaser, then offer to spot somebody, so they may need it.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. That's what Charlie was doing for me several times last summer, eh?
Yeah.
Especially for SOTA, where it's more likely that you don't have cell coverage, unlike POTA.
So for those that have done a SOTA activation, what's your highest amount of contacts that you've had over a certain duration on the mountain?
Madam?
I think 138.
I'll be right back.
So you well exceeded that four for the points then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't quite got that. I mean, I think it's in the hundreds, 115, 10, 20, somewhere in there, over, I think, probably 4 hours.
I've done like 80 in about 45 minutes to an hour, and then got off and done. I was using 100 watts too.
Oh,
doesn't matter.
So that was a little better. And then also I got off after that. I got on my 2-meter Yagi and made about another 20 contacts, but I didn't even log those.
That's awesome. I think I try to get up there and get back as soon as I can, because I'm generally already on borrowed time with the family and all that. So
I know that feeling.
Yeah, I'm probably think the most is 25 that I've gotten, and it's generally set up time, go as fast as I can, and then get back on the trail. Which I appreciate people that stay out there for a while. That's actually great for the chasers, because I like to chase too, and that's nice that you often will. Life happens on a weekend or whatever, and you step away from the website, you come back and you're like, well, I wonder if they're still out there, and then you still hear them. It's like, oh, great, cool. I can try and add that.
Yep, I've actually talked to people about this before. Some people will criticize you for only working FM, or criticize you for not staying on only staying on 10 minutes or whatever.
Criticize you for being a ham.
Whatever it is.
Hams criticizing other hams? Say it isn't so.
I know. Right. So, but I think the thing to remember here is that everybody does SOTA differently. And we mentioned this at the beginning. And so, like you said, Josh, you got to, some people are on borrowed time, and so they want to get up there to be, the other option is not to go at all, right? So.
Right. You don't know what that person's, family life is like. And like Josh said, he's got kids, and I can go up for all day if I want to, but I usually do a couple hours, and just depends. And I will say too, I've done Southern Cal and Northern California, and I was amazed by the 2-meter contacts you can make. You could. I did one here in just not even in a very high area, Mount Tamalpais, and I made 4 contacts on 2-meter in 5 minutes.
California is awesome for FM simplex. I got to tell you,
it really is.
Josh picked me up at LAX that time and took me to his house, and he's monitoring simplex, and I'm hearing conversations. I'm like, I've heard more conversations in the last 30 minutes on simplex than I've heard in the last year in Texas on simplex. It's
true.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. It's awesome that people are using it that way.
Well, we had a
And
question
summit
from
to summits on 2
Yeah.
meter down there in SoCal for sure.
we had a question from the No Code Tech on that. If you're planning a 2 meter FM activation, is it okay to call on 520, the call channel?
It is okay to call on 520.
Yes.
If you start working a pileup, though, tell them to move up to 5.8 or 5.7 or 5.9 or something. Just move off the frequency. But I mean, that's what the calling frequency is for calling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even down here when it's like there's people rag chewing on 520 every day down here, and people will come out and they'll say too, they'll talk to everybody that's out there and it's like, hey guys, I'm going to run. Is it okay if I do like an activation for 20 minutes? And they're like, yeah, go for it. And so they just yield the floor, and then of course, give a break in there a little bit, give some time so that if somebody needs help or whatever, they can get in. Common courtesy, like you do on a repeater, almost, right? Just it's simplex, so.
Yep, just like with HF. Go ahead, Adam.
Oh, I was just going to say, while you can't count repeater contacts unless they're satellite repeaters. You can't count terrestrial-based repeater contacts for summits on the air, but you can go to terrestrial-based repeaters and say, hey, I'm operating on simplex from this summit. Come on over to this frequency and pick me up. And if you wanted to be really sneaky about it, you could technically transmit on the reverse channels and make simplex contacts on the repeater frequencies. Yeah,
There you go. I
never
think
done
about
it,
that.
but you that would achieve
It's
the
within
same
the rules.
Yeah.
It's not via the
Yeah,
repeater.
there's a bit of a weird, like, this is slightly tangential, but it's kind of the same thing. I wouldn't do this on that simplex frequency like you're talking about, but one of the things that people struggle with, or maybe they don't do the best job of, is if you spot yourself, you need to don't leave dead space on the band, right? So if you're sitting there and you've spotted yourself and you're on 7.032 or 7.09 or whatever it is, and you spotted yourself and you call CQ, don't sit around and chill, right? It's like there should be very little space, right? So if I'm on SSB, it's like this: CQ Soda, Zulu Lima 4, Romeo Alpha, summits on the air. 1, 2, 3, 4. CQ Soda, like I'm on it. There's only like 4 seconds because you get tuned over if you're not.
Yeah,
I set the replay. I just set the 705 or whatever KX3 to just replay
people will
it.
tune up.
Exactly.
Chasers will see they're looking for you. They'll listen for like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and they'll carry on with their lives. Really make sure you hammer that frequency.
There's another reason to do that as well. I was with my wife just this morning actually on a summit, and it was only her first summit. It was her first HF activation. Okay, so
Awesome.
and she was calling CQ. And was leaving the spaces, and when she would reply, and she's new, so she just doesn't know this, but she'd say, "You're 5'9", and then she'd wait, and they'd say, "CQ, this is NJ, this is W7 RNS."
Gotcha.
And so the thing is all that space. What the chasers really need is they need you to draw things out a long way, because there's QSB and there's other reasons why they can't make you out. And so you really, and I was explaining this to her, and she got it. You got to really draw out your CQ and like you said, not leave a lot of spaces so people can actually chase you. Yep.
And
you feel like you're being rude, but you're not.
And it's the
You're there to do your job and get it done, and so just bang it out.
And as you mentioned, Chris, if someone's got a waterfall on their radio, they might see the signal appear on the waterfall, but then they don't have enough time to tune down to find out where you are. So if you only call once and they're sitting there for ages, then they're just going to tune away because they're just not going to know what it was.
Yeah.
Or if you sit there and you're like, and you call, and then you wait for 15 seconds, and then you call again, and one of your calls was lost and fading, right? It's just gone. Then now there's like a 30-second window for Jim who heard absolutely nothing. So just bang it out. You're not being rude. You're just doing a really good job. And like Charlie says, make sure it's kind of like a factory. You're getting it out. Here's your call sign. Here's your delineation. We're done. Moving on. Having a bit of a flow. And you learn that. Like was it Josh said that? Was talking about going with somebody else. You really, you can just totally take their food. How are you doing it? Cool. That's how we're going to do it. This is the rhythm. This is how we get it done. And you'll have great success that way, no doubt.
Just a quick super chat. Thank you to Aussie Ham Radio for the $10 super chat. VK4BFQ. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the support that you've given me there.
Dancing for the
That's funny,
super chats.
Oh, I need to get that.
Yeah, it's not the same without the 8 music though, you know.
Yeah, boy.
When I first started out in ham radio, people were giving me a hard time because I would spend the least amount of time transmitting as possible. Because as a pilot, you're trained to like get out what you need in the shortest amount of time because you need to share the frequency big time. So, you shorten everything down. And so when I got on ham radio and it's like, I'd crank out a quick key zone, people were coming back to me with, you can say a little bit more than that.
Yeah, actually, that's a very good point, Chris. For anyone new who's watching, that the best thing to do is, if you're nervous about starting on the radio, because I remember I was when I first started, didn't know what to say and the correct procedures to do, just grab the mic and just call CQ. And try and just dive in. And even if you are a bit nervous about it, maybe see if you can find a local Elmer or another amateur that you do trust who can help you through that stage. And yeah, but definitely transmitting's a lot better than receiving, in my opinion.
And if you do it wrong, somebody will jump on and tell you right away.
Oh, they will.
Yeah, please.
Sometimes even politely.
No,
Not usually.
Yeah, not usually.
I love it when I'm in Costa Rica and I'm calling CQ and I'm working a pilot. Got this station. I say QRZ, and some guy comes along. What's your call sign? I'm like, it's the same thing I've been saying for the last 2 hours, dude. Why don't you try listening for like more than 10 seconds?
Sorry, I'm only 9 minutes and 54 seconds away from my last announcement of my call sign. Give me another 6 seconds.
It's not even that long, man. I'm throwing out my call sign every 2 to 3 minutes, so I'm way underneath the barrier. And they're like, "What's your call sign?" I was like, "You hear me working a pilot, right? Why don't you wait and see what I say to those folks?"
Yeah.
The other question that I did have, which I've written down, and I'm not sure if this is the case. It is in Australia. If there's a contest on. Mm-hmm. Can you go to a summit, activate the summit, get points for the contacts from the summit and also for the contest as well?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Probably.
Mm-hmm. There's a couple pieces to that. Number one, you got to make sure you achieve the necessary exchange for both, technically. That said, I have logged contacts for field day where there's no signal report exchange, but there's other information exchanged. And I've logged those for SOTA because SOTA is not a contest. And to me, that meets the spirit and the intent of SOTA is to make an exchange of information, even though it's not perfectly by the letter of the law, the proper exchange. So send your hate mail to me if you don't like that. I'm good with it.
That's actually a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to work a contest from a summit.
The other thing I'll say is that,
yeah, Adam, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the other important thing to say is that if the contest has more rigid rules, and many contests do not allow spotting or put you in a different category if you spot. So be very mindful of that from a SOTA activation perspective. If you're planning on spotting and working the contest, that may impact you there.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, in Arizona, we actually do the VHF contest in conjunction with SOTA because that's a great opportunity, and it really we've now have like people coming in from California and from other places to work us because we have, I don't know, last time we had 10 to 15 people on a summit simultaneously with rovers doing SOTA and VHF at the same time. It was a really fun time.
It's awesome.
So we did touch very briefly on gear. One thing that we didn't speak about was what do you guys use for battery power? So if you are, rather than just bringing a handheld up, which is a fairly easy way to do it, if you're going the full HF as Chuck did, maybe 100 watts up on top of the summit, what would you recommend?
I've always just used internal batteries on whatever radio I had, and then if I somehow depleted it before finishing, which generally doesn't happen, then pack it up and go home.
I think it depends on how long you're there.
Yeah.
We were only on Pacifico for one night, but we're talking about going to this Sierra. What's it called? Sierra Sierras for 2
Nevada,
nights. For 2 nights. So that means 3 days. And, you know, if you're just going to go out, if you're going to go up to the summit, make your contacts and come back down, then yeah, internal battery is great. If you're going to stay for an extended period of time, you need to be cognizant of that.
Well, for that trip, I'll probably take a KX2 and this, and the internal battery. This is a 4 amp hour, I think, or 3.5.
3, yeah, but that's probably good enough. Or a lot of days you don't need an extra battery. You can have a solar panel and just charge the internal battery if that's an option depending on weight.
Well, if you have one of Adam's Altoids radios and 9-volt battery, that'll go. How many weeks can you go with that, Adam?
Right.
I think you just take a PVC pipe and a rag and you just generate static and then that's what recharges it.
The smallest battery that I've got in one of those rigs is a 3 series 80 milliamp hour lithium ion pack that I soldered together.
How long does that last?
Probably about 45 minutes to an hour in that thing. And it puts out, a few hundred milliwatts of transmitted power. The smallest standard battery that I bring is a 350 milliamp hour lithium ion 3 series pack, and that's my standard mountain topper battery, and that'll last about 2 to 3 hours typically with kind of moderate duty cycle. And then the standard 100-watt battery I bring is a 12 amp hour Bioenno brick, fantastic battery. And on drive up summits where I want to operate for overnight and for extended amounts of time, I've got a 60 amp hour lithium iron phosphate pack that basically lasts days at 100 watts.
What's the weight of that?
It's about 16 pounds, I think, somewhere around there.
So would you, Adam, serious question here, would you rather take that or would you rather take a smaller battery and a solar panel?
It really depends. You kind of have to do the math on the weight trade-off. Generally speaking, it's a better weight savings to just bring a bigger battery than to bring a solar panel, unless it's a really long trip.
I don't have that many options myself. I have what Adam said for his mountain topper. I have the same thing, and then I started out with a nickel metal hydride in my 817, my Yaesu 817. Found that wasn't sufficient, so I moved to a zippy airplane battery or race car battery. That's lasted me 6 years. It typically gets 6 activations if I do 1 hour per activation, so 6 hours. I actually retired it. It still hasn't exploded yet, but I'm afraid it was. So I've moved to a 4.5 amp hour Bioenno, and I haven't tested that yet. But over time, you kind of get a feel for how long your battery will last if you use the same gear, like that Zappy or whatever it is battery did. But so I think 4.5 milliamp hours is for 4.5 amp hour battery, that Bioenno is probably going to last about 6 activations as well, or more.
Yeah, I'm sort of similar. My biggest battery is 3 amp hours. I'm pretty badass. They're just, I've got the internal battery on that came with the KX2, and you can also.
Cool. I can almost say what he was going to say.
New Zealand internet fell over.
18650s. Get some 18650 cells, pull them out of laptops, get yourself a charger for 18650s, and then just buy off AliExpress. There, like exactly like that. You can do it that way, like Adam did it, but he's probably got a BMS in there because he's a fancy man. Whereas I just buy those cradles, so you can pop them in, pop them out, and then you can just pop them out, charge them externally, jam them in, and you're good to go. And that works great. No need for BMS. It's super simple.
KX2, you can have an extra KX2 battery. You can just plug it in externally and run it that way. So those are relatively light enough to keep that going for a while.
Yeah.
I do just want to point out that Jason is not a cheap $3 ham. Thank you for the $10 super chat.
Pay it forward, buddy. Pay it forward.
That's almost a Baofeng there.
Almost a Baofeng.
Well, I thought Baofengs were 47 cents. Where did I read that?
Maybe in Australia.
I think that was Smoke and Ape.
Yeah.
You got one for 47 cents.
Yeah, or Josh out of his garage, right?
Scott Lithgow.
He's blowing them out.
That's right.
Awesome, Scott.
Scott says, I did my 3rd ever SOTA activation today. Just used the IC-705 battery and was still 2/3 charged after 2.5 hours on CW.
That's good.
So, yeah.
So Chuck did that. Chuck did a video 2 or 3 weeks ago about that Miati, My Lady, whatever it's called, battery. What was it? It's like a 30 hour.
35 or 36.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I've got the little 9 amp hour version of that. Okay. And I bought it on Amazon. It's like $27, man. It's cheap. Very lightweight for what it is. I bought that last fall sometime. I took it to my hunting lease, charged it up, used it on my 705. When I was done using it, I put it in my RV trailer that I keep at my hunting lease. And every time I go back to the hunting lease, about every 1 to 2 weeks, I pull it out, put it on the 705, use it, put it back in the trailer. I did that for like 2 months. That battery never died. The 705 worked flawlessly every time, 10 watts on single sideband. Great. The 705 has great power consumption, and that little cheap Amazon battery has great retainment of power. So can't really complain with that, especially for the weight for it. And you know what? If it only lasts 100 charges, it was $27. Who cares? Throw it away, get another one. So I had very good luck with that thing. So it depends on what you're trying to. If you're trying to pack the absolute lightest pack possible, that's a great choice in my opinion.
Yeah, so you just got to be cognizant of the modes you're like you
Yes.
said earlier. It's just about knowing kind of how you operate, right? It's like, how much do I need? How much does my rig need? And the other thing is temperature, right? So I like my recurring nightmare is that I get up to the top of something, it took me 7 hours, and I'm crying and everything hurts and it's just horrible. And I get there and I set my rig up and I'm good to go, and then I push the buttons, beep beep, yeah, and I've got no battery power. Right, because it's cold. I've lost all the charge in my kit, so I've always got a spare battery for that reason. But yeah, just be aware that if you're operating sub-zero, it's you're gonna lose your power. You're gonna need more than you think.
We don't have that problem out here.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say that. Right?
Out here, it's more like 110 degrees Fahrenheit will cook your battery. That's
right. Opposite end.
Opposite problem.
Yeah.
Radio
so can
runner.
you keep that battery on you?
Sorry, man.
There's no crying in soda.
There's no crying in soda.
Buddy, I need to leave then because that's like 20% of my jam. It's just crying.
That's why he runs
from
down the
Adam.
hill.
Last time I was out with him, I was crying like a baby. Wait up, wait up.
Yeah, well, the trick is you just got to do it where only goats can see you and yourself. And if you're doing that, then are you even really crying?
Yeah.
But that's good, man. That means you're trying hard. A plus.
Actually, that's probably a good point to go back to our safety message. Was talking about make sure that you pack sunscreen if it's warm, and also protective clothing depending on if it's cold or if it's hot as well. So that's always
just dress like a ninja with a full hood like me, and you'll be awesome. Everything will be sweet.
Sweat to death.
Yeah.
That's one of the good things about not having SOTA summits in Texas. I don't have to worry about getting up on top of a mountain and it being 95 degrees up there.
Well, one of the comments I saw earlier was that a SOTA summit over there was a 3-lane highway, wasn't it, or something like that?
No way.
Oh, they were talking about Highway 121. They have a really high overpass over the north side. He was making a joke. It was a funny joke, but if you don't live here, you didn't get it. So.
Well, I didn't live there, and I still got it.
Okay. Hey, I tell you what, if I ever get a chance to go down to AU or ZL land, I tell you what, I'm going to take the opportunity to go down there, and I won't be crying down there. I'll be like, hey, I'm operating a ZLDX. Let's do it. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, those are fighting words. That's the first 1,000 vertical meters talking. Once you get into the second 1,000 vertical meters, it's kind of like, what was I saying? Yeah. This is the worst thing I've ever done.
Right.
Oh God.
Hey, you know what? If I die on a SOTA mountain in New Zealand, my life is complete. I'm good with that. So,
Chris, extremely good to get on video. That's for sure.
Right.
I'll drag you down, bud. It won't be fresh. I'll drag you down.
My wife will down, but not up.
Yeah, just don't forget to turn on the GoPro.
Yeah.
That's right.
No, I'll give him some dignity, please.
You guys
anyway,
ever
that's a bit morbid now.
You guys ever want to come out to Texas? I'll give you a place to stay. We'll go blow some stuff up.
Outstanding.
Well, this has been a great conversation. We're up to almost an hour and 20 streaming, and I noticed that we've had ham radio dude. So Sean's dropped off, and I think Chuck's also had to drop off as well. So thank you guys for joining, and for all of you for joining me today. What I'll do is I'll put a link to all of your channels in the description after this video, so that those who watch it on the replay can go and subscribe to you guys, especially to our SOTA experts in the on the panel. Make sure that you go and check those out too. But is there anything? Well, let's go around and see what's coming up on your channel soon. So we'll start off with Adam. He's the first one on my screen. So what's coming up?
Well, we'll see here. I've had some search and rescue operations the last couple weekends, so I haven't really had time to get out and film anything. But I'm hoping to get out tomorrow, unless the call out comes in again tonight. I'm working on a comparison of HTs and a band pass filter in a high RF environment. So comparing a number of different HTs and seeing how they perform relative to each other on a nearby summit that has a whole bunch of repeater sites and is really awful for just desensitizing your 2-meter rigs. So that's what's coming up.
That's actually a good point that we didn't mention about if you do operate from a repeater site. Just make sure that you are aware that you may get interference or desense from the other transmitters on the site as well. So,
especially with a Baofeng.
Especially with the Baofeng.
There will be a Baofeng in tow.
I mean, I never said that. You can't prove I ever said that, but with the Baofeng, it's going to be a problem.
Oh, Chuck's back on. He's joined us back on. So, Chris, what's happening on your channel?
Yeah, man, I've been just completely crushed with work the last 2 weeks, and I'm slightly under the weather at the moment. So I didn't get out last weekend, so I'm a little crushed emotionally and spiritually. So I put out an absolutely
video on a microphone, though.
Yeah, I put out the world's most energetic and exciting video about soldering a plug onto a wire instead. Like a normal person. But hopefully I'm going to get out midweek. Hopefully I'll get out midweek and shoot some more pretty things and make an idiot of myself. But yeah, man, just the same old stuff. I just need to get some work cleared out and feel a bit better, and then we're cracking.
Sweet. Jason.
Hey, man, I appreciate the invite today. This was a fun stream, especially with everyone on here. So SOTA is something that I'm interested in, but it's not something I'm experienced with, so I'm always interested to learn more. Here in about 7 minutes, I have a premiere coming up about the new FCC $35 fee that they announced a date for. It's a very impromptu, last-minute video I recorded last night. So that's going to be premiering. It's only like 8 or 9 minutes long, so I didn't want to interfere with you guys or with Josh. That's coming up in like half hour or so. Tomorrow, my regular live stream at 7 p.m. Central Time, which is right now about 00 UTC. Kyle will be coming on. We'll be building an all-star node, so that's going to be fun. All-star is really fun. Worldwide, internet-connected, analog repeaters and nodes. So check that out.
All-star nodes that I've built before.
Cool. If you're awake during that time, you're welcome to come out there and connect to us and join us. Love to have your accent on the video.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no. Josh.
Yeah, so I will be live in about a little over 30 minutes. But tonight I will be talking about my favorite laptops for amateur radio. So I'm getting set up for that right now. And there's a whole pile of them. Take your pick. They've got different purposes, and we'll be covering that. But yeah, thanks, Hayden, for the invite. These are always fun to just hop on and let somebody else run the board, if you will. So that's always good. And I appreciate the good discussion and the smart people on Summits on the Air.
And Mike's just joined us for the end, so thank you, Mike. Better late than never.
He just made it. Just made it.
But the good thing is Mike can join. We can watch Jason's video on the FCC on the license, and also Josh's live stream, which, as you said, is coming up.
And he always jumps in there on the after chat too. We do the after chat over on Discord.
Yep. Charlie.
Okay, yeah, I have quite a few things coming up. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, my wife and I went and did a SOTA activation today, so I have that video I've got to get figured out and posted here. Probably, I'm going to try it for Monday, but I bet it's probably going to be Thursday when that comes out. Like Adam, I'm kind of doing a similar experiment. I'm interested to see his because I know it's going to be different than mine. What I'm doing is taking a tiny SA, which is spectrum analyzer, going up to a noisy summit, and I'm going to kind of show the difference between, in a quiet area and then what it's like up there. And then I'm going to take and plug in with an attenuator 3 different bandpass filters and show how those work. And then I'm also going to do an audio test of just one radio with those 3 different bandpass filters and kind of show the difference. So a little different than Adam, but kind of similar. So it'll be interesting to see his and see how they go. I'm going to the Grand Canyon to do a 3-day backpacking trip in 2 weeks with my wife, and we're going to try to do some POTA, I think. We'll get down to the bottom of that big gully and see if we can get out there and get any contacts. I'm not quite sure what radio I'm taking yet, but we'll be doing that. So that'll be a fun one. And the last thing is tomorrow night, in less than 24 hours here, about 24 hours, on my show, we're doing a live stream similar to this one. We have actual specific topics we've assigned people. So like Adam here, K6ARK, he's going to be on the live stream talking about, what are you talking, how to work a pile up. And we've got Steve, WGAOT, is going to talk about some etiquette. We've got Martha, W0ERI. So a bunch of big guns, Keith, KR7RK, and Dean, K2JB. There's a bunch of people who are very experienced with SOTA. They each have a topic they're going to talk about in that live stream. And so that'll be a fun one. So back to you, Hayden.
That sounds like you've got a lot coming up on your channel. That'd be great to view those, to check out. I've just put a link. I'll put a link in the chat to all of the channels I'll get that right. Yep.
Hayden typing and talking at the same time.
Yeah, just don't do it. I cannot do it. Chris, what's going on with you? You don't have a YouTube channel, do you? But you've got a very good blog that I just checked out.
Yeah, I've got a YouTube channel out there. Oh. Yep, just have to search my call sign because I don't have the vanity set up, but it's under Christian Claiborne. Hamninja.com. I was originally a big blogger, so trying to do a lot more vlogging now. I've got a huge backlog of post-production I got to get into. I've been so busy at work, it's just hard to finish work and then start post-production on stuff. So I could do that. I'm hoping to get a summit to summit tomorrow with Adam, maybe because I'm hoping to get out tomorrow as well. And maybe try a new drone out. So take the videos to the next level and get some really cool shots with add in some cool shots with a drone, kind of mix it up a little bit. So that may be my first test run. So that's what I got planned. Thanks for having me on, Hayden.
That's great. What drone do you have?
It's a DJI Mini 2.
Right.
So
awesome.
It's good for backpacking. It should be interesting. So we get some good B-roll with that guy. Just something to throw out to the group here, and Josh, maybe something to think about is sponsoring a ham. There's a lot of chatter about FCC now is going to charge for ham licensing. It's going to keep new hams from coming on. I say BS. I think we can put together a fund and sponsor new hams, get them going.
Yeah, there's a couple things in the work in that front. What would be great, and this is kind of a mention to anybody listening that's got an ear with groups like GLARG and other groups like that do online testing, is if they would figure out how to get their charity set up or become a charity that you could send a check to or whatnot. I ran into a bit of a problem with that recently, but I think that's a great idea.
I'm working on something like that also, where we can set up some sort of like slush fund to fund people who are new to the hobby, not upgrades, but like people who are new coming in for technician licenses.
Yeah.
I'm going to work on something like that.
I'm in. I think we can mention, I think we could raise a lot of money, temporary offline. I know you work with new hams.
Yep.
We just need to set up some kind of charity organization to work the money angle.
Be good if we could do that here too, because as you guys would all be aware, our fees are quite
y'all's fees are nuts.
Quite high, so yeah, that's one of the things that I've been trying to have discussions.
Sponsor an Australian.
It's actually
I'm
cheaper
not
for an
buying you a
Australian
new
to get a US
radio.
license, I think.
Sorry?
Didn't we figure out it was cheaper for an Australian to get a US license than it was for an Australian to get an Australian license?
It is if you take the fact that if you take the US test, if you take the technician test, then you get a free upgrade to the next one and then the next one. So what's general and then extra.
Yeah.
So if you did that, then you applied for a recognition of prior learning, then you could upgrade to the highest Australian one, and you wouldn't have to pay then for each one that you did, because in Australia you don't get an upgrade option. You have to pay for each exam that you take. So yes. What's happening on your channel?
Yeah, so Monday night is Ham Nuggets, as always, 7 p.m. Central Time. We have Shane from this side of the radio. We're going to talk about ham radio and airplanes. And then Thursdays, Ham Radio Dude and I do FT-8 Off, which is a friendly FT-8 battle, a sprint, a contest, so to speak, where we just try and make as many contacts as we can in an hour with people in the chat and on stream with us. And then Astro Leah and I are taking a trip down to Huntsville, Alabama to go to space camp. So video is going to be kind of interesting the next couple of weeks as we get that taken care of. But I'll get some footage of something online because, that's what we do.
And I'll go with Chuck. And I have to apologise, Jason, that I have run over your premiere, so I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. No worries. I've got it on
Chuck.
another tab.
Oh, okay. I've got a video Monday on a little antenna similar to Adam's, not quite as light. It's only like 2.5 ounces, so he beat me there. But a little simpler to build. It's actually AI6XG. I got the idea off of his site. It's kind of like a cross between the two. And then Mrs. Ape sent me a little present, and I got a review on that the following Monday. It's already ready to go. So, and then I've got you guys remember Javi K6TNT?
Mm-hmm.
He and I are going to do, I think, 3 sodas the first week of April.
Nice.
And hopefully,
Cool.
in the snow, probably. Walking this time, though.
All right. Well, Jason's video is premiering right now, so I'll pop that in the chat. So everyone who's watching, go over and check that out, and then check out Josh's channel, Josh's live stream afterwards. So thank you all for joining me, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for
Thanks,
having
Aiden.
us.
Thanks for
Thanks a
having
lot.
us, Aiden.
7-3.
Thanks, mate.